Welcome to round 10 of the FIM World Motorcycling Championships. It's the city of Rio Grand Prix, just on the outskirts of the city itself, part of Brazil. Well, the Copacabana beach, that proved a distraction for some of the Grand Prix circus, but unfortunately we couldn't indulge in it. Well, there's been a new surface laid down for 1997 after the horrendous bumps that we saw in the race last year. Hopefully the surface will be okay for all three classes. Well, on the Thursday evening before the meeting got underway, we had a competition in the local hotel to judge Miss Rio Grand Prix. There were 15 contestants to represent the 15 rounds of the World Championship we have. Doohan was on the jury, as was Max Biaggi and Carlos Checa et al. Max Biaggi, he decided to give his telephone number out though. In the end, the winner was number 11. She got all spoiled. She was Miss Rio Grand Prix 1997.
Practice got underway on a slick and untried surface that was showing signs of breaking up in some sections. Fortunately for everyone, the conditions improved as more rubber was laid down, but had it rained, riders in the 500 class would have had difficulty. Takuma Oki, Repsol Honda, crashed his V-twin in the closing of Friday's practice session and was found to have broken his shoulder blade. Surprisingly, considering the seriousness of his injury, he was allowed to practice on Saturday, but was really unable to ride at speed. He qualified 18th. Back in action after his very serious first lap crash at the Austrian Grand Prix, Frenchman Regis Laconi reclaimed his Tecmas Honda V-twin from substitute Bernard Garcia and turned in a strong qualifying performance, good enough for 15th on the grid. Local hero Alex Barros was bitterly disappointed with a lowly 13th place on the grid in front of his home fans, but the 26-year-old Brazilian, who hopes to be back on a V4 again next season, was out trying to find the right suspension setup in the Sunday morning warm-up. For Sete Gibernau, Yamaha Team Rainey, his 10th spot on the grid equaled his best ever qualifying performance to date in this, his rookie year in the 500 class. The Spaniard felt he could have improved even further had he not had to come in during the final minutes of the last session. Australian Anthony Gobert was battling for a front row position during much of the final session, but got in too hot on the brakes at the end of the home straight, and on the slick surface ran off the groove, had to pick up the bike and run onto the grass. He eventually crashed in the hard Brazilian gravel, but he was uninjured and qualified 9th. For Darrell Beatty, practice was a mixture of good and bad. His 8th place was promising, but he crashed also without injury on Saturday afternoon. It was really one of the best qualifying sessions of the season for Beatty, whose Lucky Strike Suzuki was on the provisional front row until the final stages of training. Nobuatsu Aoki, FCC Technical Sports Honda, found his V4 a handful on the slick and bumpy surface. He crashed on Saturday, but was uninjured. He qualified 7th, good enough for a second-row start. Marlboro Team Roberts' Jean-Michel Bale put his Modena KR V3 on the second row for the second time in the last 2 races. The lightweight 3-cylinder prototype was giving up a half second down the long back straight and about 3/10 of a second on the home straight. But the ex-Supercross champion still managed to qualify 6th, although he blew his engine in the final stages of practice. Doriano Romboni, who says he's looking for a Works 250 or four-cylinder 500 ride next year, was once again top twin qualifier on the 460 Aprilia, out-qualifying the Honda twins and also the Modena triples. On the outside of the front row is Tadayuki Okada on the Repsol Honda V4. Okada is finally beginning to overcome the effects of a series of early season crashes. Like most riders, his biggest concern for Sunday was what tire compounds to choose for the unusually early and cooler 11 o'clock start for the 500 race. Spain's Carlos Checa, movie star Honda Pons, was encouraged not so much by his third place in practice, but by the fact that he had shortened Doohan's advantage over him from 1.5 seconds to only a half second in the final session. He crashed when he went wide off the groove on the new asphalt, but was uninjured. Red Bull Yamaha's Luca Catalora was back on the boil after crashing out of the lead in Germany 2 weeks ago, again showing that if anyone is going to beat Doohan while Alex Crivier is away, it will probably be him. Reigning world champion Mick Doohan scored his 7th consecutive pole position, but dismissed all questions regarding his chances of winding up the title here today. I haven't done my numbers. I'm just out to win races. And this is going to be a long, hard race if I make the wrong tire choice, said the champion.
Well, the 500 grid, they had 24 laps to complete. Mick Doohan was on that pole position ahead of Luca Cadalora's Yamaha, Carlos Checa, and then Tadayuki Okada finishing off that front row for the 500cc Grand Prix. Final preparations are made. Second row is Doriano Romboni's Aprilia, Jean-Michel Bale, Nobuatsu Aoki. There is Okada closest to us on the left, and then Doohan is on that pole position. He's closest to our camera now. We're ready for the green light, and it is go. Oh, Luca Cadalora, terrible start from the Italian on his Yamaha. He's dropping back into the middle of the field. He's going to be nowhere into the first corner, but somebody who's up there is Jürgen Fuchs on the L500, but he goes in way, way too hot, and he places hand over fist to the Repsol Hondas of Mick Doohan, and it's actually a Yamaha of Norifumi Abe. Abe's up there in second position. He started from 11th position on the grid, and he's up there in second position already. So then it's Doohan from Abe from Okada. That is the leading trio as we finish off the first lap here at Jacarapagua. Over the line goes Doohan, over the line goes Abe, and there is Okada up there. There are the two Suzukis there traveling as two, but they're in the middle of the field. Abe, though, he loses second position because he loses it to Tadayuki Okada. So it's the team Repsol Hondas, the Honda V4s, in the first two positions. And then there is Fuchs. Then there is Sete Gibber now. He's well up there. Now we've got Carlos Checa. He's in fourth, but he won't be in fourth for long because down the road he goes into the gravel, tumbling away. He's going to be perfectly okay, but he caught the rear wheel of Norik Abe's Yamaha, and that was just enough to send him skittling down the road again in 1997. Then that leaves us as follows. Doohan and Okada, Abe and Aoki. Cadalora, he's up there in fifth position, coming back from that appalling start that he made from the second position on the front row. We're on board with Okada. Down the back straight, building all the way up to 195 miles an hour, but not building anywhere, is Kenny Roberts Jr. on his Medenas KRV3. That is his day's work in the office, well and truly over. However, this is number 3, and it's Luca Cadalora in third position. He's on a charge, he's on a burn from the stern after a terrible start. So then we've got Cadalora, and then Nobuatsu Aoki, and then I was going to say Norifumi Abe, but this is the teammate to Norifumi Abe. It's Sete Gibber now. He's had an engine problem, and his race is well and truly run. So then it's Doohan there, and then Okada number 7. He's still in that second position, but he's handing Doohan. Good strong race this by Tadayuki Okada. There he is on screen. Good race this by the Japanese after he really predicted something would go well for him on Sunday, and if things like that happen to Mick Doohan, things are going to go very well indeed for the Japanese rider, because if Doohan gets out of the seat like we saw like that, he'll be down the road again. However, we've got Nobuatsu Aoki. He's up into third position because he's ahead of Luca Cadalora now. We're on board with Cadalora looking backwards. That is Team Repsol Honda pit on pit wall. And Takuma Aoki, he's a non-starter in this race because of a fractured left shoulder blade. But Okada, he's trying to get past Doohan. He looked as if he was going to be alongside and past him at the end of that back straight, but he doesn't look as if he was going to pull it off, so we'll have to wait another time. We're on board with Luca Cadalora, and he's back up. After losing third position to Nobuwatsu Aoki, he's back up into third position, demoting Nobuwatsu Aoki down to that fourth position. Abe, number 5, he's still in that 5th position, and Jurgen Fuchs on the L500, he's in 6th position. So then on the last lap, we got Doohan and Okada. Okada doesn't look as if he's going to be able to have a reply to the Australian. We've just got 2 corners to go here in Brazil. Doohan is going to look as if he's going to win it. He is going to win it. He's going to win 9 Grand Prix out of 10 that we've had in 1997. He's just got the long, never-ending right-hander that he comes out of. Now, Doohan going to win the Brazilian Grand Prix 97, a one-handed wheelie over the line, and a wheelie again from Okada. Good result that from the Japanese rider, not too far away indeed from the Australian, but we've still got a race alive for third position, and it's going to be Luca Cadalora who does get that third position. He's just tipping it into the right-hander with his Red Bull Yamaha. Out of the last corner he comes. Cadalora does get third position after a terrible start. What could he have done had he had a good start? There is Cadalora's crew on pit wall. They congratulate each other. That's the 3rd time that we've seen Cadalora on the podium in 97, but no, somebody is not even going to get across the line. Is Barros. The local hero goes down the road. He loses 8th position, actually, to Jean-Michel Bales, Medena's KRV3. So there you have it. Doohan wins by just over 7/10 of a second to Tadayuki Okada. Cadalora 3rd. Podium celebrations get underway. The soaking of the champagne well and truly in progress. Mick Doohan, 245 points. He can win the championship at the next round, the British Grand Prix at Donington.
Yeah, thanks very much. You know, it was, again, I'm not so happy about starting the race at 11 o'clock. It messed up the whole tyre choice situation. The front was pushing from about lap 10, and I was having trouble with the front everywhere, just because we'd never tested in this sort of condition. Like, it was either earlier or later, and the bikes are so sensitive to tyre wear and to tyre change when the ground temperatures change that it was going in blind, and I didn't want to gamble on just a tyre what perhaps would be a little bit better without knowing. So I had a really good rear tyre, but I just had a front tyre just wasn't doing the job properly. So I didn't let Okada pass anywhere because I wasn't confident I could get back by him because I had no front grip.
On to round 11 of the FIM World Motorcycling Championships. It's the British Grand Prix, held in the Midlands at Donington Park. Championship first came here in 1987. It's been here ever since. The countryside with all the local pubs proved a welcome watering hole for many of the spectators that came to see their World Championship heroes. The 2.5 mile track set around the rolling parkland of the local stately house. 2.5 miles, just over 4 kilometers in length.
The annual Day of Champions, held in benefit of the international charity Riders for Health, which supplies motorcycles for use by medical workers in remote regions of Africa, raised 46,000 pounds this year, a new record. There were displays, contests, stunts, and an opportunity for fans to meet and chat with Grand Prix stars past and present. The memorabilia auction was the highlight, and a suit of Mick Doohan's leathers brought 3,100 pounds, all for the good cause of Riders for Health.
700 with the man there, then 800 pounds. Do you want to go 800? Do you want to go 900? Do you want to go 1,000?
Because
the long-awaited biography of Wayne Rainey, written in conjunction with Mike Scott and published by Haynes, was presented in Donington on Friday afternoon with some of Wayne's best friends and, in other days, bitterest rivals on hand. World champions Kenny Roberts, Mike Doohan, Eddie Lawson were there, along with arch rival and now close friend Kevin Swantz. Also Randy Momola and Bubba Schilber. From the dirt track days of Southern California right through to his 3 world titles and the accident that ended one phase of his life and began another, Wayne tells it like it is. Uncharacteristically hot and dry conditions prevailed at Donington Park on both days of official practice for the British Grand Prix, but a lack of grip and feel left the 500 riders unable to approach record times. For Kirk McCarthy, the first opportunity to ride a full factory Yamaha in Red Bull colors. Up to this point this season, he's been riding for World Championship Motorsports on a 500 Rock. Anthony Gobert knows his way around Donington Park. He was on the podium here twice last year on a Kawasaki Superbike, but he was at sea riding the Lucky Strike Suzuki at Donington for the first time, qualified on the 5th row, crashed, but was uninjured. Jean-Michel Bale rode aggressively in all practice sessions, but he was very obviously on and over the limit. He crashed twice, separating his right shoulder in the second crash, which took place in the Saturday afternoon qualifying session. He was 14th. Regis Laconi, coming back from serious injuries at the Austrian Grand Prix to score his best ever result 2 weeks ago in Brazil, was having his first ride at Donington on a 500 and put the Tecmas Honda twin on the 3rd row, qualifying 10th. Alberto Puig, movie star Honda Pons, is struggling to return to form after a season that began well, but dropped off after a crash at the Spanish Grand Prix. Puig says he's baffled by his poor results, but believes that he can work his way back through perseverance. Doriano Romboni on the factory Aprilia qualified 5th, missing a front row start by 3/10 of a second. The twin-cylinder 460 Aprilia was a real handful at Donington, and Romboni crashed, was uninjured, but was struggling to keep the front wheel down. Tadayuki Okada, currently second in points on his Repsol Honda, went down once again in the final minutes of the final Saturday session, but was uninjured. Okada has finished second 3 times and third twice, but he's yet to win in the 500 class. Brazilian Alex Barros, who crashed out of his home Grand Prix in Rio 2 weeks ago when battling with Doriano Romboni for 7th place, turned in a strong qualifying run on Saturday, tucking into Mick Doohan's slipstream and taking 3rd place, his best practice result of the season. With Spain's Alex Criville still out, Spain's Carlos Checa has taken up the Doohan challenge, but has paid the price with a series of crashes. After a crash on Friday, Checa suffered from blurred vision and grogginess, but he was seeing and riding well enough on Saturday to take second by 63/100ths of a second. Poised to take his 4th consecutive 500 world title, Mick Doohan set about practice with his usual intensity. He said grip was still vague, but that he was learning to understand the lack of feel.
Onto the 500cc grid. There he is. There's the man that could clinch his 4th world title this afternoon. Going into the race, his only other rivals are Okada and Aoki. If Okada wins, all Doohan has got to do 7th or better. If Aoki wins, Doohan has got to be 10th or better. If they're both 3rd, he's world champion anyway. That's the technicalities, though. This is the real thing. 30 laps of 500cc action. Doohan on the pole position, just ahead of Carlos Checa, the Spaniard. Alexander Barros, the Brazilian, on the Honda V-twin in 3rd. Tadayuki Okada finishing off that front row in 4th position. 2nd row with Aprilia of Doriano Romboni, Nobuatsu Aoki, Luke Catalora, Kenny Roberts Jr. The crowd were ready for the red and the green lights. The red light was on and it goes to green quite quickly. It looks like Barros has got a good start from the front row of the grid. Alexander Barros has got a flyer as they go down to the first corner at Redgate. And it is going to be Barros that leads into the first corner. Norik Abe. Abe has come up from the 3rd row of the grid on his Yamaha machine. Out of Redgate they go. Regis Laconi on the Honda V-twin puts his hand up. He's got some sort of a problem. He's out of the race already. Through the chicane, though, it's Barros from the 2 Repsol Hondas of Tadayuki Okada and Michael Doohan, number 7 and number 1 respectively. 2nd and 3rd, but it's Doohan who now is up into 2nd. Doohan in second position, ahead of his own teammate now, Tadayuki Okada. The rest of them coming through out of Goddard's as I speak. We're on board with Barros. Doohan jinxed to the left-hand side, and he threw into the lead. Doohan leads here at Donington Park, round 11 of the Motorcycling Championships. He's won all but one race so far this year, and he's now at the front end of this run. Checker, he's at the bottom end. He's down the road, hits the tarmac, bang on the ground. His Honda is out of the running. He fell at that corner yesterday in practice. We're on board with Checker. Gets into the curb, and then, whoa, the back goes out. He goes over the top of the handlebars, but he is hopefully okay. However, Doohan has now got Taddy Okada behind him. The Japanese rider came second to him at Austria earlier on in the championship, and Gobert's got a problem. Gobert is retiring from the race on his Lucky Strike Suzuki. He was running well outside the point, some sort of a problem there. But this is the battle for third position. It's between Norik Abe and Alex Barros. They go round red gate once more. Abe up into third position. Barros goes back a little now, but he's trying to fight back. He's going around the outside. He comes over. Oh, they touch at over 100 miles an hour. Norik Abe gets pushed onto the grass. He just manages to keep the machine upright. How the dickens did he keep that one all together? The places are whizzing past Norik Abe at the bottom of the hairpin. And he continues along his way, even though he's absolutely furious with the Brazilian. That's what Norik Abe was saying anyway. However, they go over the line, and it's now Luca Cadalora up in third position, number 3 on the Red Bull Yamaha. We're on board with Luca Cadalora, looking back at fourth position man Alexander Barros, but this is the battle for the lead. It's Okada that goes deep, and Doohan takes him back again. Okada led for half that corner there as they come back onto the front straightaway. Less than a quarter of a second splitting these two teammates as they go into red gate, and it's Okada that now retakes Doohan. Now, is Doohan being a little bit sly here? Is he letting Okada go through to try and make him do some of the running? Down the back straight, it looks like Barros does get past Luca Cadalora. Barros now up into third position ahead of Cadalora. Number 4 in third and number 3 in fourth position. Oh, Doohan makes a mess of it coming out of the old hairpin. Okada goes too quickly into then the next left-hander and the next left-hander. Doohan then goes very quickly into McLean's. Over the bumps he goes. Keeps a nice tight line. He drifts over to the right-hand side to prevent Okada coming through up on the inside into Copper's corner. Nice riding that by Doohan. Not very good riding, though, by Alberto Pucci. He's down the road. That's his day's work at the office. I'm afraid over. There's Simon Bleasdale. He's the chief engineer for Tadayuki Okada. He's on pit wall. He's seeing his man try and get the better of Michael Doohan as they go around the Melbourne hairpin. Once more, they come up towards the last corner. They're coming into now. Okada has got to be trying to be late on the brakes, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Doohan, he's on a flyer. He's going to win the race. He's going to win his 4th 500cc World Championship in a row. He is ecstatic with it. Okada gets second position. There is Repsol team on pit wall. They are over the moon. However, this is Alex Barros. He is going to be getting his first podium position for a very long time. It's on a Honda V Twin. He's done it. He gets third position. Doohan, though, who celebrates his on the cool-down lap with the mandatory Australian flag. 94, 95, 96, and 97. Doohan just wins by less than 1/4 of a second over Okada. Barros 24 seconds back, though. Still nets him third. The champagne starts. Doohan on the top step. Well, in the championship, Mick Doohan is uncatchable, even if Okada wins all of the remaining races, and Doohan scores no points.
I'm very happy. I think it's the track done to neutralize a little bit the difference, the V4, V2. So you have a little bit more opportunity for here. And I worry more is the tire for the race. I'm not decided to the grid. I decided the tire must be using the grid. The temperature of the ground changed so much yesterday, today. And I think everybody make a very good job, my mechanics, my team, and I'm very, very happy for my first spot in the standard machine.
Yeah, it's a bonus. The best thing as well is we won the race, you know, and I think you could tell I wasn't just riding for points out there. I really enjoyed that race. It was a lot of fun. It was a difficult race. But the reason I don't talk about the championship is because it's motor racing. The bike could break, I could crash, anything could happen. And I've been in the position before and it hasn't worked out, so it's never over until it's over. But today it's over, and I'm sure the rest of the year will be just a lot of fun, just trying to do the best we can.
Welcome to round 12 of the FIM World Motorcycling Championships. We're in the Czech Republic, right in the heart of Europe, at the circuit of Brno. It's the country's second city, with the great cathedral towering above it. Of course, the glory of Brno after the Iron Curtain. Circuit of Brno, 5.4 kilometers, just over 3.2 miles in length, purpose-built about a decade ago.
500 practice was run under full wet conditions on both Friday and Saturday, but the excellent grip of the Brno surface meant that the fastest lap was only 12 seconds off the best previous dry times. The circuit's good grip gave the riders confidence, but there were limits, and many riders found them. Nobuatsu Aoki had 2 days of dismal qualifying on the FCC Technical Sports Honda V4. He crashed twice without injury, but qualified 18th and will start deep on the grid in the 5th row. Brazilian Alex Barros found the limits on the circuit as well. He was still on the brakes as he tipped the bike into a left-hander, and he went down in a shower of sparks and gravel. He eventually qualified 15th. Eighth qualifier, Regis Laconi, Tecma's Honda V-twin, had the honor of being the quickest man on a twin, but he went down hard on Friday. Now fully recovered from his horrendous first-lap crash in Austria, Laconi has been one of the revelations of this class so far in 1997. Back in the saddle again, Alex Criville, 9 weeks after suffering a serious hand injury in Assen, went out tentatively on Friday to feel his way around, said he wasn't sure he would race on Sunday. But on Saturday afternoon, we saw the Spaniard begin to ride aggressively again as he took his Repsol Honda to a very encouraging 7th place on a wet surface. Alex Criville has still been the only man to beat Mick Doohan this season. Carlos Checa, movie star Honda Pons, is not fond of wet conditions and was only able to take his Honda V4 to 6th place in a 2nd row start. Checa has had his share of crashes lately, but said he was hoping for a dry track and another chance to achieve his ambition of beating Mick Doohan. Yamaha team Rainey's Sete Gibernal, frustrated by not 1 but 2 stop-and-go penalties at Donington Park, once for jumping the start and second for speeding into pit lane, did his speeding in Saturday afternoon's practice session on the track, qualified a brilliant 5th in spite of engine troubles in the final moments of the session. There were 4 different brands of machine on the front row. 4th was Lucky Strike Suzuki's Darrell Beatty, and this is the first time we've seen Darrell on the front row since the Italian Grand Prix at Mugello last season. Remember this date, August 30th, 1997, the first front row start for the Marlboro Team Roberts Moganus KRV3. Former motocross and supercross champion Jean-Michel Bale wanted the pole badly. He started here on the pole last year on a Yamaha, but he was reasonably pleased to take 3rd place on the 3-cylinder prototype. Red Bull Yamaha's Luca Catalora won here in 1995, took the pole here in both 94 and 95, and he was a strong second in practice. It's contract time, and Luca was showing his stuff at 34 years of age. He was still a full second off the pole. Mick Doohan tied Freddie Spencer's modern record of 9 consecutive pole positions.